Disney doth deliver. No, not good movies, but they are never short on moments where self-awareness passes them faster than their box office returns have cratered. Disney's Boy Trouble. Studio seeks original IP to win back Gen Z men. I guess I can no longer ignore the problem while it's smacking them in the face while screaming every game award in the book, but remember, this is Disney. It's highly unlikely they will admit to any level of culpability. If somehow they do, then make peace with your maker because the end times are upon us. Alright, let's see how this shakes out.
And here we go.
Leadership at Walt Disney Studios has been pressing Hollywood creatives in recent months. Multiple sources tell Variety for movies that will bring young men back to the brand in a meaningful way.
Bring them back, you say? Well, Disney, where did they go? What happened to the illustrious modern audience you've been chasing for the better part of a decade? It seems they didn't manifest as hoped, and in the process, an entire generation of potential moviegoers decided to abandon whatever Disney sharts out. Also, the phrasing here is a bit odd. What do they mean by meaningful way? I know the company is in dire need of a dedicated fan base that doesn't look like they walked off a Tumblr forum, but that's exactly the audience they pandered to, and now their shocked normal people have tuned out? Men aren't gobbling up their slop and have disengaged to the point where their flagship male brands are as welcome as a wet fart in a pool. Unless this is some tongue-in-cheek way of saying attracting the correct males or the right kind of audience. Is that what this whole thing is shifting to? We're not chasing the modern audience, but we're chasing the right audience? Get bent, Disney.
Every film studio is looking for better ways to convert young audiences into habitual moviegoers. Numerous studies show that Gen Z men in particular are a lonely, gaming-obsessed group who were hampered in their formative years by COVID-19 lockdowns.
Oh, come on!
Can I at least get 5 paragraphs in before we break out the incel narrative? Jesus, save it for your TikTok when you hit the wall. Hey losers, I need your money, but no, not you, I just want your money, so give me money and fuck off. Yeah, I can think of no better way to put butts in seats than to insult someone. Why get lectured in the comfort of my own home when I can pay for the authentic movie-going experiences? I'm also going to point out that Disney was on board with the boof-coof lockdowns. They were happy to bend over and let the government ram it up our collective sphincters. Also, why are folks still using the pandemic as an excuse for their failures? Try making stories worth spending money on and people will come back to the theater. So simple it's hard, apparently. Get good, scrubs.
But what's surprising producers, writers, and other partners in the larger industry is that Disney has been calling for original concepts to lure the demo back to the movies.
Is there something wrong with your current offerings, Disney? Do they not appeal to younger men or audiences in general? You've been telling everybody they've been slam dunk hits. So if that's the case, what exactly went wrong? You see, they had at their fingertips 2 of the largest male-dominated franchises in the world that were primed to be money-printing machines, and yet somehow, through only secrets the Sith knew, ended up becoming husks of their former selves. And it's kind of impressive how fast they tanked both Marvel and Star Wars. Each property had a prominent place in the culture for decades, and now folk reflexively cringe at the mere mention of them. But on a more serious question, where are these original ideas going to come from? Everyone saw how veteran talent was treated across Tinseltown during the Me Too power grab and the push to eliminate a certain melanin-deficient demographic with dangling bits. So if there are any up-and-coming creatives that manage to see the job opening, they're going to ask, why would I work for these fuckers? Assuming Disney grants interviews to anyone with a lighter complexion or isn't positive for monkeypox. There is no chance in hell they can count on their own writers for anything new. Those are the same tards responsible for tanking the franchises in the first place. While the Disney writer rooms are stuffed with Alphabet Reich flags and dominated by folk that need to sit down to pee, don't expect anything new compelling out of them anytime soon. You gotta Elon Musk this bitch.
This is the same Disney whose multi-billion-dollar content engines, Marvel and Lucasfilm, have sated men of all ages over almost 2 decades since the company acquired them.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Yeah, they wish it was 2 decades. Star Wars splattered all over the launch pad and Marvel got maybe a solid phase and a half under the Disney umbrella before nosediving harder than an Air India flight. Also, this contradicts the earlier point about bringing males back. If Disney has been sating men of all ages for the last 2 decades, as claimed, what changed? I think this is going to be the closest admission of failure we're going to get from them. And I mean, it's not surprising. I would best describe their business model over the last decade as we hate money. I would love to see the breakdown for both Marvel and Star Wars to see if the studio actually got some kind of return on investment. Remember, they shelled out $4 billion for each franchise. I can reasonably say they didn't get a return for Star Wars, and Marvel would be a toss-up, yet I'd lean no. Everything Disney has touched died horribly. And I'll be the one to admit I was one of those sweet summer children that said, hey, let's give Disney a chance, knowing full well Georgie Boy wasn't going to do anything else with the IP. Jesus, talk about buyer's remorse. Or sellers in his case. I'm sorry, George.
The calls come as the Star Wars machine struggles to produce any film project and the superhero genre sheds audiences by the minute. Disney's live-action film business has been sorely lacking in guy-leaning fare, like the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, for nearly 10 years. To say nothing of the lackluster attempt to reboot and hand off Indiana Jones in 2023.
Oh, I can tell you the reason why Star Wars has trouble producing a film project. Mismanagement. Kathleen Kennedy should have been fired the moment Solo lost money, but no, she wasn't. After the sequel trilogy, good luck getting any Disney Star Wars film made. It's the same problem with Marvel. Poor leadership. They cast out all the talent and creatives that made the first 3 phases a success and replaced them with people who have no business being in the film industry to begin with. But the greatest crime of all, Disney, and I'm going to lay it out real simple for you, is this. You bastardized the franchises. Disney abandoned the tenets of storytelling in favor of platitudes. With each released project, they fell deeper and deeper into the propaganda hole, abandoning profits for messaging, lecturing, and disrespecting the very people their existence relies upon. Oh, and you know why Disney can't produce any guy-leaning fare? 1, Disney has always been a girls' brand, let's be honest. But 2, masculinity is dead in Hollywood. It's been replaced by superficial girl bosses and blundering half-wit men that nobody, not even women, can find something to like about. It's no surprise why folk have abandoned shit.
Yet numerous power players who spoke with Variety see something ominous in the tea leaves. When the execution is correct, Disney's sweet spot at the movies has been millennials. Gen Z is a different story. Built-in interest is not nearly as guaranteed for such an audience, which propelled Warner Bros., a Minecraft movie, to nearly $1 billion haul.
Their execution is rarely correct. On the off chance that it is, it's because Disney took more of a backseat and the project was in the hands of talented and skilled creatives outside of the DEI labor camps. Though I do agree with a couple points here. First, tapping into built-in interest. Movies lost out on Gen Z much like comic books lost out on millennials. And one thing is responsible for both: video games. The return on investment for a game is much higher than either a movie or a comic book. And it didn't help that both mediums gave in to empty platitudes over compelling plots and stereotypes over fleshed out characters. Nobody wants to spend money to be lectured. Gaming, at least up until recently, still offered the one thing that movies do not: escapism. That's why I do see video games becoming the next craze in Tinseltown. Which brings me to the second point, something ominous in the tea leaves. In the case of comics, there were decades of excellent stories that were ripe for adaptation. I mean, how hard is it to adapt a story that is already written? It's like getting the answers for an exam, then changing them because you think your answers are more right. It was the same with Star Wars. An entire expanded universe spanning hundreds of stories, all discarded for
Rey Skywalker.
So what hope is there for video game adaptations? I mean, it's not like it hasn't been tried already, and the vast majority of those attempts failed in the same manner. They were created by folk who didn't respect the IP, expecting returns because product is popular, but never understanding what made it popular. While these game adaptations might be the next craze, don't expect any studio to do them justice. Just hope that the trend dies quickly.
It's staggering to rival studios and dealmakers that Disney is looking to blaze new trails after years of being the envy of the town, having counted for so long on sure things from the worlds of Iron Man and the Jedi.
I mean, if you're in the business of entertaining folk, you should always be looking for the next best thing. This doesn't just apply to Hollywood, but to any business in general. Find new ways to reach a wider customer base, draw in more revenue, and maintain dominance over the market. It does seem like the woke coke is starting to wear off and these bigwigs realize they need to actually make money. It's business 101, but we know that kind of talk is not tolerated in Hollywood. And the kicker is, the world of Iron Man and Jedi could have been viable ad infinitum. Again, you just adapt what is already written on a reasonable budget, then use those guaranteed profits to experiment. Test new ideas with smaller budgets and maybe expand the catalog even further. Hell, and/or prove that Star Wars could be taken in new, interesting ways.
Disney CEO Bob Iger confirmed as much on a quarterly earnings call this month, saying his film group won't favor existing IP over original material. The priority, Iger said, is to put out great movies.
I mean, I'm smiling, but I am very fucking furious.
Yeah, I've been waiting for some great movies for a while now, Bobby boy. I can't fault you for not being able to predict the weather, but a blind man at night could have seen the disaster your company is currently suffering from 10 miles off. Funny how your tune has changed when previously you were content to pander whatever current thing occupied the trending tab on TwitTwat. and I highly doubt you will be successful in this endeavor. Again, if adapting video games is going to be the strategy, then at least have the decency to make it blow for blow and show some goddamn respect. They might rope in decent profits at the start, nostalgia is one hell of a drug, but that particular high wears off fast when the product is shit. Unless Bobby Iger here is ready to fundamentally change the company to produce creative works and not to proselytize, they'll be back at this point before the decade is over.
One top film executive at a Disney rival says every studio should be looking for originals, as sequels and reboots continue to exhaust the culture, even if they're packing in moviegoers in the short term.
That's all reboots are, a short-term gimmick. Relying on member-berry key jangle is not advisable if you refuse to do the original justice and fail to show the proper respect to what came before. People are tired of seeing their beloved characters, worlds, and stories treated with the same respect as gum on a shoe. Sequels of stories that were concluded years, if not decades ago, are unnecessary and reek of pure desperation. If you plan on reviving or remaking something, let it be some prior century movies that may have been limited by the technology of the time. Keep the original story and give them a facelift. Enjoy profit. Also, that last bit is interesting. Did nobody have a long-term plan? No direction or consideration of the future, just rake in what you can now and damn what comes after? How boomer of you. Okay, yeah, that went about as well as I could have expected. It's mind-boggling how they dance around the elephant in the room while nodding their head towards it, hoping that you bring up the issue so they don't have to address it. Although this is probably going to be the closest we might get to an outright admission of failure from the crack house of Mouse. Also, don't expect them to change anytime soon. Their problems are too numerous and the clock doth tick with bills coming due. Yeah, there are certain actions they can take now to get things on the correct track, but nobody likes sudden change. And given how fragile the industry currently is, the whiplash will leave lasting neurological side effects. But unfortunately, it's exactly what needs to happen. Even with those drastic changes, the shift won't happen overnight, nor will it be pretty. But hey, the best part is, making those changes doesn't require a tacit admission of failure. Disney's history of PR spins makes CNN jealous. And that's assuming they actually want to address the changes. Success speaks for itself. If you want to prove the doubters wrong, start succeeding. Don't get me wrong, it's fun to watch these fools self-immolate, but I would much rather have good Disney movies again.